Wall Street didn't rise from brilliance alone, it rose from bondage. When we think of Wall Street today, we picture a canyon of steel, glass, a place where fortunes are made and lost in the blink of an eye. It stands as a global symbol of American capitalism, ambition, relentless progress. We see the charging bull, traders shouting on the exchange floor. This image speaks of opportunity, meritocracy. It tells a story of ingenuity, smart investments, bold risks, building empires from the ground up. It's a powerful narrative that draws people worldwide, but beneath this gleaming surface lies a darker, more complicated history, deliberately buried and conveniently forgotten. This is not about stocks, bonds, but about human beings treated as commodities. The original wall that gave the street its name was built in the 17th century, partly by the labor of enslaved Africans. From its inception, Wall Street's economic life was intertwined with slavery. In the decades before the Civil War, one commodity reigned supreme in the American economy: cotton. It was more than just a crop, it was the engine of national growth, the country's most valuable export by a staggering margin. By the mid-19th century, the United States supplied over 2/3 of the world's cotton, feeding the insatiable looms of British textile mills and fueling the Industrial Revolution. This dominance earned cotton a powerful nickname, King Cotton. Southern leaders claimed the world would grind to a halt without it. They were not entirely wrong. The wealth was immense, transforming the nation, yet built on profound human suffering. King Cotton rose on the brutal efficiency of chattel slavery. Enslaved African Americans cleared the land, planted the seeds, and picked the cotton under a sweltering southern sun. Their unpaid labor made American cotton cheap and plentiful. As demand soared, so did demand for enslaved labor, driving a horrific internal slave trade. More than 1 million people were forced from the Upper South to the Deep South, a second Middle Passage. Vast swaths became a sprawling cotton kingdom. Every bale represented hours of coerced backbreaking work. The immense profits of the Cotton Kingdom did not stay in the South. They flowed into Wall Street's institutions. New York City, Charleston, New Orleans, interlocked by trade and finance. New York banks financed the plantation economy. Planters needed capital for land and to purchase more enslaved people. Northern banks, J.P. Morgan Chase, Citibank among others, extended loans and credit. Plantations were investments, not moral crises. Human beings were treated as capital, listed as assets on balance sheets with land and livestock. Enslaved people were collateral for mortgages. Default meant seizure and sale. Human lives became liquid assets, financial instruments for profit. Wall Street engineered products to capitalize on slavery. Slave-backed bonds were issued. Southern bonds funded railroads and canals. Collateral relied on tax revenue from enslaved people. Northern and European investors bought in, seeking reliable returns on human property. Credit, mortgages, bonds. Wall Street funded, sustained, and expanded a system that treated people as entries on a balance sheet. Beyond banking and lending, insurance found a lucrative market in the slave economy: insurance. Companies we know today, like Aetna and New York Life, issued policies on the lives of enslaved people. This was not modern life insurance for a grieving family. It protected the slaveholder's investment. If an enslaved person died, the enslaver received a payout. Human life reduced to monetary value. Policies were detailed and dehumanizing. Age, health, and occupation assessed like inventory. Dangerous work meant higher premiums. Insurers kept meticulous records, an archive of brutal calculus. Risk management and actuarial science wrapped inhumanity in professional language. Profits grew by underwriting the slave economy's risks. Coverage encouraged more credit purchases and more dangerous exploitation because losses were insured. Wall Street normalized the unthinkable, making death a predictable business expense. These records reveal deep systemic complicity woven into finance's DNA. After the Civil War, a convenient amnesia descended, particularly in the North. Wall Street and allied industries quickly distanced themselves from their past. Narratives framed the conflict as a noble crusade, North as unambiguous hero. Financial ties to the Cotton Kingdom were scrubbed from official histories. Bankers, insurers, shipping magnates moved on, wealth laundered by time. Erasure was deliberate, historical sanitization. Myths of free market genius replaced uncomfortable truths. Public memory fixated on battles, not economic causes. Wall Street's story became one of genius, detached from forced labor that seeded its capital. Distance made profits feel clean and costs invisible. By the time money arrived, it seemed pure, divorced from blood and suffering. Willful blindness served economic interests. Generations accepted a sanitized narrative, slavery as a Southern stain alone. A deeper truth, that New York's financial heart was profoundly complicit, was too disruptive to admit. This isn't just history, its legacy echoes in the present. Wealth generated by enslaved labor did not vanish after 1865. It became fortunes, businesses, institutions that endure. Capital compounded across generations, creating lasting advantages. That is generational wealth. Access to education, opportunity, and security. Descendants of the enslaved were freed with nothing. No land, no money, no resources. Promises denied. Black codes, sharecropping, and Jim Crow enforced economic subjugation. The starting line was below zero. Today, the median white family holds nearly 10 times the wealth of the median black family. Not about individual choices, about systems that enriched one group while barring another. Redlining and discriminatory lending were modern iterations of financial racism. Echoes persist in leadership gaps, VC funding disparities, and predatory lending. These are systemic consequences of a foundation built on exclusion. The debts of history remain unpaid. We can no longer afford to turn a blind eye to the full story of Wall Street. American capitalism's engine was fueled by slavery. This is not about personal guilt. It is about collective responsibility for truth. Our present structures of power and wealth were forged in profound injustice. A reckoning requires more than a footnote. It requires examining how institutions were built. Some banks and universities have begun to acknowledge ties to slavery, an important first step. But acknowledgement must be followed by investment, empowerment, and dismantling barriers. Trace the money, and the story is clear. Wall Street's rise is inseparable from enslaved African Americans. Recognizing this links past to present, and explains today's disparities. It is painful and uncomfortable, but necessary. Only by bringing this hidden history to light can we repair the damage that endures. Subscribe to Echo's Sovereignty as we uncover the truths history tried to bury, and how their echoes shape our present.